Hey guys, Victor here, coming at you again with another deck profile, and today we're going to be covering one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most iconic decks in the form of Lightsworn, as it just recently got new support in Legacy of Destruction, and I gotta say, it's actually really good, especially compared to previous Lightsworn support in the form of like Twilight Sworns, which just completely flopped on their face. This stuff is actually playable, and depending on the format, you could definitely see it pop up as like a viable meta contender. So, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the deck profile. Now, as always, we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup. So we're going to be playing 3 of the best monster in the deck, being 3 Wulf, Lightsworn, Beast. You heard that right. It may not be 2008 anymore, but Wulf is still easily one of the best cards in the deck. And thanks to the new support in Legacy of Destruction, it's actually something that you want to draw sometimes. I know, crazy as that may be, Wulf is actually a good card in your hand thanks to the new support. And even if it's not right, you're still playing the Minerva Exceed or the Minerva Synchro, so you're obviously going to just mill all 3 of them at the same time and either just plus hella hard or whatever. That's just the nature of a Lightsworn player, right? They're always good, so they're always going to mill all 3 of their beasts. But yeah, to go along with our 3 Wolves, we're playing 3 Lightsworn Dragonling. Now, this is easily the best piece of support that we got in Legacy of Destruction, and that's just because it does so many things for the deck, just whether it's boosting its consistency, increasing its power plays by giving you easy access to synchros, searching out boss monsters. It literally just does it all. So let's just go over the effects, I guess, which are if you control a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you're able to special summon this card from your hand. So pretty easy, you know, it's the Lightsworn deck. You want to have Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard. And then as for the other effects, if this card is special summoned, you're able to foolish any Lightsworn card from your deck to the grave. So you can send your spells, your traps, your monsters, whether they're tuners or non-tuners, whatever. It literally sets you up for whatever combo line you may want to see or perform with your Lightsworn cards. And then, as if it couldn't get any better, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you're able to search your deck for any dragon monster with 3000 attack, 2600 defense, and we have 2 targets, one being the original Judgment Dragon and Punishment Dragon, which we can pretty much summon both pretty easily, but that doesn't really matter because our main purpose with those 2 cards is to make Enlightenment Dragon, but we'll get to that when we get to that. All you need to know is that if you want to play Lightsworns, you have to play 3 of the Dragonling. And then to accompany our Dragonlings and our Wolves, we're playing 3 Weiss Lightsworn Archfiend. So this card literally lets you stack the top of your deck with your bricks. And it's one of the main reasons why cards like Wulf and Felis can actually finally see play again, because you just take those cards, you put them on top of your deck, you special summon the Weiss, and then you mill 2 cards, and then boom, like some kind of magic sorcery or whatever, you magically hit the Wulf every time. But yeah, this card just phenomenal at helping you fix and unclog your hands. It's literally full combo when you hit it with a Wulf, since it gives you access to the Minerva Synchro, and it really does spiral out of control pretty easily. And then it also has a really good graveyard effect as well, where if this card is sent from deck to grave, you're able to target 1 Lightsworn monster in your graveyard except Weiss and then reborn it. And we have a lot of good cards, right? You can bring back Wolves, and you can bring back Dragonling. And in the case of Dragonling, for example, if it's special summoned by the effect of Weiss, you still get to trigger its effects because it does not have to be special summoned by its own effect. As long as this card is special summoned, you will be able to trigger its effect to Foolish, which, you know, it's good to know because we have multiple methods of getting it out besides its own effect. And then for the final 3 of Lightsworn monster, we're going to be playing 3 Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. You don't really normal summon in this deck, so playing something like 3 Raiden is honestly pretty fine. And this is honestly your ideal normal summon. And it used to be a lot better as well once Baron was still around, just because you'd go normal summon this, mill 2, you'd probably hit like a light or a dark, whatever. You'd summon a Bystial, you'd have your insta Baron, and then off of that, you'd have protection for the rest of your plays. But we can't do that anymore, which is totally fine. You know, it's still a really solid card, whether you're milling 2 and then making like Dissipator or Chenging or whatever. Yeah, this is fine. You should definitely be playing 3 just because you don't really normal summon, so it's perfectly fine just to summon this as your normal summon. And then for the final Lightsworn monster, we're playing 2 Felis Lightsworn Archer. As opposed to Wulf, this one does not get its effect if it's sent by card or by spell card or trap cards, so that's why it's not really played at 3. It has to be milled by a monster effect, which, you know, isn't the hardest thing to do, but sometimes you just mill this card off Charge of the Light Brigade and you just feel bad, so it's perfectly fine at 2, 1, 3, whatever. Well, maybe not 3, but 1, 2, it's still pretty solid at that. And then that's it for the Lightsworn monsters, but we have our boss monsters for Lightsworn being the 1 Judgment Dragon and the 1 Punishment Dragon. Truth be told, we pretty much never use their effects. We're just using them for Enlightenment Dragon. But either way, still really cool cards that I'm really happy that we actually get to see play with. Then for the Bystial lineup, you have your 3 Bystial Lubellions, Let me move the Lightsworn monsters over here really quick. Professionalism, let's go. Yeah, but you play 3 Bystial lubellion. So you're pretty much just maxing out on the Bystial engine just because it does pair really well with the Lightsworn cards. And like I said earlier, we used to do it for Baron, but we can't do that anymore. So we just make the next best thing in Dissipator. And there are a lot of other Link monsters as well that benefit from us playing so many dragons. So yeah, 3 lubellion, and then to go with the 3 lubellion, you play the 1 magnamhut, the 1 druiswurm, the 1 saronir, and the 1 Baldrake. So you pretty much just play a full Bystial engine to ensure that you can actually get your synergies off pretty easily. And then we just play like a bunch of other engines, being the Imsety engine or the Horus engine. So you gotta play 3 Imsety Glory of Horus along with the 1 Hapi. Not much to say. You know, your ultimate goal with these cards is to make zombie vampire, which in turn mills 4 more cards. And hopefully by that point you have some kind of combo. But yeah, that's the Horus engine. And then we just play a couple of one-ofs to help round out the deck, being like the 1 Keldo, the 1 Mudora. You're milling a million cards. You might as well have some kind of form of graveyard control. The 1 Performance Trick Clown. I just really like this card because it does give you like a free body no matter what. And it does allow you to be a little bit more creative with your plays. And then for the final one, 1 Starliege seyfert. So this card, pretty cool. We don't really tend to use its on summon effect or on field effect where you can like send dragon monsters or whatever and then add something with the same level. But you can, you know, say you go for like charge of the light brigade against ashed or whatever, but you milled a Lightsworn monster, you're perfectly fine. You know, you go normal summon Starliege seyfert, activate its effect, send itself for cost, and then you can add Lightsworn dragonling to hand and then full combo your opponent anyways. But that's probably not going to happen very often since, you know, we only play the 1 copy. It's mainly just for its second effect where you can banish it to add either like your punishment dragon, your judgment dragons, your Bystial lubellions, whatever, from your grave back to your hand, and then just proceed to combo off even harder. But yeah, just one of these is perfectly fine. And with that, that's the monster lineup. And now we can finally move on to the spell and trap portion. Now, because the deck is so monster heavy and I wanted to keep the deck under 40 cards, that means we're going to be playing very little spells and traps. So that means we're pretty much only going to be playing like the really important ones. So as a result, you have 3 Charge of the Light Brigade, mill 3, search any Lightsworn, pretty straightforward. We have our 2 King Sarcophagus to go with our Horus engine. You have your 2 Branded Regain, which is honestly pretty good, especially because it does offer you a grind game as you're able to bring back your Bystials. Any banished light or dark monster pretty much nets you a free draw, so you can do it to recycle your own cards, or you can use it against your opponent to send their cards back and then you know, just disrupt them in general. If you end up playing cards like Cypher Lord Omega, this card is actually phenomenal because you can go Omega, banish. If it's like a dark or light monster, you put it at the bottom and then you get to free draw just because, you know, card's pretty good. And then this is also like one of the main protections that we have against Nibiru because let's face it, with the loss of Baron, this deck is pretty fragile and it does commit a lot of resources before it actually puts up a negate if you decide to make one. So yeah, you know, if you get hit by Nib, it's fine. You just activate your Branded Regain, get back your Bystials, whether it's like Dissipator or your Lubellions, whatever, it's fine. This card, yeah, it really does save your butt a lot of the times. And then you have the 1 Foolish Burial just because sometimes you just want a controlled mill and Foolish gets the job done. And that's it for the spells. And then for the traps, we just play 1 Lightsworn Aegis. This card pretty much makes your unbreakable boards actually unbreakable because it's able to stop cards like Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplet, as long as there's no trap, Triple Tactics Talent, whatever. This card, it's sick. As long as you have a face-up Lightsworn monster, you can basically auto-negate any 1 card of your choosing. So yeah, it's pretty much an auto-include, I feel, in any Lightsworn deck. And with that, that's a spell and trap lineup. And now we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now, when it comes to the extra deck, I honestly had a really tough time deciding what 15 cards I wanted to include just because there's so many different cards that Lightsworn can take advantage of, whether it's like Dugaris, ensuring that your combos go off with consistency draws, Omega interrupting your opponent and having that relationship with Branded Regained, even something like Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend where it can burn in time because, let's face it, this deck is always going to go into time, was a consideration. Ultimately, I decided on these 15 cards, but it's not the be all end all, right? If you want to change them 100%, I agree with you. By all means, try out as many different cards as you can because no one extra deck is truly correct, especially when it comes to Lightsworn. So as a result, we're of course going to be starting off with the 1 Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. We don't care about the Destruction mill 3. What we care about is the other effect where you get to mill 3, and then for every Lightsworn card you mill, you get to draw a card. You know, just the consistency that the original Minerva offers you is unrivaled. So yeah, you have to include at least 1. And then to go with that, you play the 1 number 41 Bagooska, the Terribly Tired Tapir, where this is literally just like a plan B for when you get hit by Droll and Shifter. Not if, when, because let's face it, it will happen at some point. And even then, like, there's no guarantee that this card is going to work. We're pretty much just praying that it does. But still, you have to include the 1 bagooska. And then for the final Exceed monster, you play the 1 zombie vampire. You have so many level 8s in this deck, whether it's like Judgment, Punishment, all the Bystial lubellions, your level 8 synchros, your Horus monsters, whatever, that this card is just incredibly easy to make. So we're of course going to be playing 1, and then its effect, you get to mill the top 4 cards of your deck and your opponent's deck, and then special summon a monster. So you get to mill, you get a free extender. This card just, it's great. And that's it for the Exceeds. And then for the links, you play the 1 IP Masquerena. This deck tends to clog a lot because a lot of monsters do get special summoned pretty quickly. So we just have something to get rid of them. And IP is just a great choice because it floats into SP Little Knight, which is also another phenomenal card. You know, when you use an extra deck monster as material, you get to banish a card on the field. It is also, when your opponent activates any effect, you can chain it to banish 1 card or 1 monster from each side of the field, which is really great at helping you dodge cards like Imperm, Veiler, whatever. So yeah, SP Little Knight, fantastic. And then for the final link too, we're playing the 1 Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This card, we play so many dragon monsters, and this card can just sometimes just like auto win the game on the spot with its free bounce. And then in addition to that, for some reason, not only does it bounce cards, but it special summons dragons from the deck. Their stats are 0/0, but it doesn't matter because we still get their effects. And sometimes just that little summon can be way too much and just completely overwhelm your opponent. So yeah, 1 Spheres, must have. Then for the link 4s, you play the 1 Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess. Just basically your generic monster negate, and it's honestly, it's a lot better in decks like this, especially because we can pair it with Lightsworn Aegis to ensure that it doesn't lose out to cards like Dark Ruler No More, Triple Tactics Talent, Forbidden Droplet, if they don't send a trap card. Yeah, Apollousa, fantastic. And then for the final link 4, we're going to be playing 1 Saryuja Skull Dread. So like I said earlier with the IP Masquerena, this deck floods the field with monsters very, very quickly. So having something like Skull Dread, which can make use of all the monsters that you have on the field, link them off, free up a lot of space, help you thin out your deck consistently by drawing 4 and then stacking 3 bricks on the bottom. And then not only that, it can special summon monsters from your hand. This card just does it all. And if you thought it couldn't get better, it's also a dragon, so you can link it off for your Heavenly Spheres, which, you know, pretty good. And yeah, that's it for the link monsters. Then we just play a bunch of synchros and 1 fusion, being the Minerva the Athenian Lightsworn. So this card, depending on how many Lightsworn monsters you use for its summon, is able to mill that many Lightsworn monsters from your deck. But they have to be different types, which is perfectly fine, right? You typically just send like a Weiss plus something else to help ensure that you have like another complete play immediately after that. And then it also has like an additional effect where you can banish 4 Lightsworn monsters. They do not have to have different names, but it is beneficial if they have different names so that you can summon Punishment Dragon a lot more easily. And then you just get to mill cards depending on how many cards you banished. So, you know, just another really fantastic piece of consistency to help ensure that your plays go off. Then we're playing 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. We have no way of making this card in the main deck, but we can still special summon it. But we'll get to that part when we get to that part. All you need to know is that this card is a monster negate, so it will stop Nibiru if your opponent holds it for too long. Then for our level 12s, you play the 1 Changing. This is basically just the replacement for Baron. It's okay. Sometimes it can win games on its own, but I wouldn't put too much stock behind it. It's by far the worst level 12 that we play because we are playing Chaos Angel, and this is a deck filled with lights and darks, which means you're going to get all the effects and all the immunities, which in turn means that your opponent is going to have a very difficult time actually dealing with this card, which, you know, we're all for. Then for the best level 12, we're playing the 1 Bystial Dissipator. This card is just, this is pretty much like your go-to now that Baron is banned. It recycles your banished monsters, it can negate effects, it can destroy cards. It's just a general nuisance to deal with. So yeah, if you want to play Bystial Lightsworn, you definitely are going to need like a Bystial Dissipator just to help it function a lot more smoothly. And then for the final monster, we play the 1 Crimson Dragon. So we don't care about searching any red dragon Archfiend cards or anything like that. We're literally only using this card to summon Crystal Wing out, which is, you know, it's solid. It's pretty cool. All you have to do is target your Minerva, and then you can special summon your Crystal Wing. And even then, it has uses with the level 12s as well, right? So say you go for like Chaos Angel first. If you make Crimson Dragon after that, you can target your Chaos Angel to special summon your Bystial Dissipator. And the best part is, with Crimson Dragon, those are still treated as synchro summons. So if they leave the field for whatever reason, you can still bring them back through cards like your Branded Regained, which, you know, is a really solid tool. And that's it for the synchro monsters. Then we just played the 1 Fusion, being the 1 Enlightenment Dragon. This card pretty much your auto win button. If your opponent is able to break through your fields of Apollousa, SP Little Knight, you know, all and Lightsworn Aegis, you always have this as like a backup plan to just basically finish the game off, because you pay your life points and then you get to banish every card on the field and in the graveyard, and then hopefully by that point your opponent has nothing and you probably won't have anything either, but you still have a Lightning Dragon, and that's more than enough to win the game. And with that, that's the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!